Okay, so we're live again. So sorry for that. We're a little bit late, just a few minutes. There were some technical issues that we had to overcome. So it looks like a few of you are already dropping in, so that's cool. We'll just wait a couple of more minutes for some more ladies to join for part 2 of this. Let me just head over to the Facebook group in the Central Union to see if there are any questions or anything that came in just now. Just a sec. Let's see. A moment. Okay, so there are a few of you who are wondering if you can still join even though you are a little bit late. So I'm just going to post the kind of emergency room. Let's see here. Emergency link straight to the room. Go here. Okay, so you're in. Awesome. So let's see. We have 7, 8, 9, 10 women joining. Let's see, we have 10 women on right now. I can see Kara, Christina, Ariela, Barbara, Joanna, Sophia, and Alicia so far. We'll see if more come in. So again, let's see, just let me know how you're doing right now or anything else you feel to share. Also, if you want to share anything in the chat about any insights or anything that came to you from yesterday's webinar, from part 1, feel free to share it in the chat. And then we're going to dive right in. So we have a pretty similar crowd as yesterday as well, which is really nice. Hi Barbara. So yeah, just type in a little greeting of any kind. If you want to share what you're grateful for today, you're very welcome to do so as well. Hi Sharon, welcome. Great. Okay, cool. I think that's all for the Facebook group. So I'm going to close that now and go to my notes. Okay, wonderful. So were you all here yesterday? Have you all watched part 1? Or is there anyone who is here now that did not watch part 1 yet? Let me know just so I know kind of where we are at in terms of the crowd that are watching. And if you're watching the replay, you know, later than today, then I recommend that you watch part 1 first. Don't start with this one, because yesterday we really went through a lot of the basics and a lot of the really, not just basics because we did go pretty advanced already, but it's the basics in terms of what we're going to continue with today. So if you didn't watch part 1 yet. Sharon says, for me, the biggest insight from yesterday is that pretty much all I have to do is to follow my joy. Yeah, I'm so glad that you got that. That is so key. That is so key, because very often when we are getting into the game of manifestation and we realize that our thoughts and our feelings and our vibration creates our reality, then we can get very stuck up on this feeling of like, oh, so I have to manage every thought and I have to manage every emotion and I have to do this so that then I can get something that I want. But no, it's really about moment by moment feeling into what excites me right now. What do I feel joyous about right now? What feels nourishing? What lights me up right now? Because this is really how we can move through life in a way that we are, yes, creating the future and the life of our dreams, but it's really about the moment by moment by moment enjoyment. Because it kind of sucks if we have this idea that there's something in the future that we're going to manifest that isn't here now, and then we think that we have to get there and that we're going to be happy once we get there. But this is, again, reversing the process, and the correct way of doing it and the powerful way of doing it is realizing that whatever your inner state of being is in this moment, that is what life is going to reflect to you. So again, it's not waiting for the mirror image, the reflection or the manifestation to show up first and then be happy, but realizing that through our inner state of being and living in a state of joy and gratitude, the rest of the world and the universe in our life responds to that. So let me see here in the chat. Whoa, lots of things in the chat here. Great. Kids playing around. Yes. It's nice to come into some relaxation. So Esther says, I was working at my business plan and I need some relaxation now. So hopefully working at the business plan can also be a party vibe. Just see when you're creating a business plan, just see how you can turn that event and that experience into an experience of like a fun party to be at. So play some nice music, wear some nice clothes, maybe have some nice chai next to you, and have a little dance every now and again. Those kind of things, I guarantee you, will make your business plan a whole lot better. Sophie says, hello, grateful for the radiance of the sun. It's very intense, and for chocolate and tea. Good, good. Ah, beautiful, Alicia. I'm happy that your heart is okay. Okay, so Sharon says, sometimes though I can feel really overwhelmed by all the choices about what gives me the biggest joy in the moment. So when it comes to following your joy, again, whatever lights you up the most, whatever feels like the biggest yes, and there's no rush in this. It's not like you have to be on time to follow your joy, but if you have different options, if it's easy for you to tune into what lights you up, what feels like the biggest yes in that moment, then that is the one to follow. And if you have a few different options and they all feel equally joyous or equally exciting, then you really can't go wrong. It really doesn't matter which one. It's pretty just like, just pick one and go for that, because it's all in alignment if you have different things. Wonderful. Ariella says, this morning I gave priority to doing my practice, shaking, awakening energy, instead of doing work-related things or house cleaning. From now I intend to prioritize what is good for me and gives me joy. Beautiful. Yeah, great. And then the working and the cleaning becomes much more fun also. Oh, cool. So you're dancing every 30 minutes when you're creating your business plan. Beautiful. Okay, so Esther says, I received a lot of inspiration, but my vision is so big that also some fears came up for a moment. Okay, great. So this is we're going to tackle a bit later when we are going through into debunking fear and seeing what that really is. So just hang on tight until that point, and we'll go into that. Okay, cool. So we're going to just dive right in, because yesterday we covered a lot, and there's quite some ground to cover today as well. So I'll do my best to stay kind of undistracted from the chat. And if you have questions that you want me to bring up at the end, then mark it red as a question, and it will all pile up so I can see it very, very easily. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So the first thing that I want to share with you is about the real reason why you want what you want, and realizing that it is about the feeling, not the form. So very simple example. So right now I'm in love with a beautiful man that I'm going to see again in a couple of months. We met on Hawaii, and there's no knowing where this is going to go. So I'm recording this, now in January, and as I watch back at this a few months from now, I will have kind of found out what happened with this, because this is an experience of meeting someone and falling into this beautiful feeling of the love and the connection and the exploration of the intimacy. And because of the uncertainty, you can say, and because of the open nature of our relating at this point, that we really just met each other for a week, and then we don't see each other for a few months, and then we're going to meet again in Bali in April. And there is just no knowing where this is going to go. It's just a full permission to enjoy the feeling of this. So in a situation like this, and it doesn't have to be something like that you meet someone and then you don't see each other for a few months, but it's more like if you go on a first date with someone and you have this excited feeling inside, but you don't know what's going to happen. Now, again, if you have a longing for intimacy and a partner and a relationship, then if you have an idea about what you want, and I was very specific, I mentioned yesterday, I placed a custom order with the universe, which is another manifestation technique that you can get really specific. As long as it excites you, it's totally fine to get really specific, and then just let it go completely. Again, be clear about your desire, and then just let it go and come into vibrational alignment with that. that is basically the creative process. And so that's what I did. I placed the custom order with the universe, with the kind of partner that I want in my next relationship. Along comes this guy within like a week or something after I had really said, okay, now I'm ready. And he checks every single thing on the list. He checks every fucking box on the whole list. And so, oh snap, that is some serious foundation for either a lot of joy or a lot of neurosis, or maybe a combination of both, depending on how open we can be with this. So if we have an idea of something that we want, so let's say a partner, and then somebody comes along that seems to fit that, if we are then holding up the frame of, okay, he seems to be fitting my picture of what I think that I want, and we hold on to that and say, oh, it must be him, it must be him, then again, we are cramping down on something that has to be an open, alive, and flowing process. And so if we attach it to that it has to be him, so for example, this man that I'm going to see now in Bali in April, unless something else happens, who knows? If I attach my happiness and my joy to that it has to be him or else I'm gonna suffer, then I am in pretty deep shit and I'm in pretty deep trouble. But if I instead look at that, what is it that I really want here? What are some of the qualities, the feeling qualities that I want here? It's the feeling of deep connection. It's the feeling of shared deep love and intimacy. It's the feeling of joy, and the feeling of that life is an adventure, and that life is abundant, and that everything is just flowing perfectly, and that there are so many opportunities for enjoyment and many other things as well. And so I can tune into those feeling qualities now. It's not that I have to wait and postpone that joy and that connection and that excitement until I see him, but I can tune into those qualities now. And also trusting that life brought us together, not by some kind of random accident, but as a direct reflection of my inner state of being and our wishes and desires being in vibrational alignment with each other, us syncing up vibrationally and thus meeting from that open place. Within that, there is again the total trust of the abundance, because it's not that life gives us one chance and then if we blow it, then we never get a chance again, unless we believe that, in which case life will reflect that to us. However, in this case, right now I'm feeling that, okay, I'm so grateful that life brought us together, and I'm so grateful for the time that we have shared. We do have plans to see each other on Bali, and also I don't really know what he's feeling. So like it's just completely open adventure right now. So first of all, I'm giving myself full permission to enjoy the feeling of this, to enjoy the feeling of this now, because I can enjoy the feeling of this now regardless of what's going to happen or not happen in the future. And secondly, is the trust that this is life just reflecting alignment back to me in this way. And so there is the trust in the abundance that it's either going to be this or something else amazing. It's either going to be him or someone even better, say, or someone even more aligned. So again, to not place any limits on infinity. That is very important. If we lose money, or we lose a partner, or we lose a job, as soon as we say, oh no, there was this one thing and I lost it, then we are placing a limitation onto infinity, which is a stupid thing to do, because there's nothing lacking, especially not possibilities, from infinity. So really seeing very, very clearly that there are infinite possibilities and infinite abundance, and realizing it's about the feeling, not the form. Because whatever, if you make a list of everything you desire in your life, a new apartment, beautiful clothes, massage every week, a wonderful community to live with, or a cat, or whatever it is, a partner, child. If you look at everything that you want, and then you go down underneath and think and feel into, why do you want these things? Why are you wanting? Why are you desiring these things? It always comes down to a feeling, usually a feeling of joy or something along those lines. And realize that yes, those things are really, really great. However, they are also pointing to what your desired state of being, your core desired feeling is. or what your core desired feelings are. And if you want to dive deeper into the core desired feelings, then I super warmly recommend reading The Desire Map by Danielle Laporte. And I can put some links, I can send you some links or put in the Facebook group about that. The Desire Map by Danielle Laporte is a brilliant book where she's not just talking about joy, because this is something that has been said by many teachers. Abraham Hicks often says that we have never met, what did he say? We have never encountered anyone or met anyone that, well, basically what they're saying is that whatever we want, what everyone is wanting, the reason why we're wanting it is because we think that we are going to feel better in the having of it. So once we get that thing, or once we get that person, or once we meet that person, then we're going to feel better. And this is a deeper pointer to what we are desiring to feel. It all comes back to the feeling. And so in the Desire Map, Danielle goes into that it's not about the goals, it's not about getting there and then, but it's really about, okay, what are my core desired feelings on a daily basis? And so for me, and I wrote this down, they come down to a feeling of abundance, a feeling of freedom, a feeling of bliss, and a feeling of peace and aliveness. And so aliveness and abundance and bliss and peace, those are qualities that I value very highly. And so if I'm sitting in front of the computer, say, and I'm working on a goal, or I'm working on creating something, but I am noticing how my aliveness is going down and down and down and down and down, if I don't prioritize my core desired feelings in that moment, I am going to allow that to happen. I am going to let myself sit for 10 hours in front of the computer, and at the end of the day, I'm a fucking zombie, right? So it's like crawling into bed and feeling completely dulled down. Maybe I've tried to create something for the sensual yogini, or for something about, you know, pleasure or something, but if I'm not experiencing pleasure as I'm doing it, it's completely pointless. And if I'm creating something that is not, and I'm not aligned within myself as I'm creating it, it's not going to fly very high. It's going to be felt as something a bit dull and a bit kind of dulled down by the people who are receiving it as well. And so with this, realizing that it's the feeling, and there is no there to get to, it's only this moment. If you want to anchor this further, then read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, or something that just anchors in that this is it now. There is no there to get to. This is it. This is it. This is it. So how am I feeling in this moment, in this moment, in this moment? And so with this, for example, knowing that one of my core desired feelings is aliveness, I prioritize my aliveness, meaning that when I'm working in front of the computer, I take regular breaks to put on some music for 3 minutes or 5 minutes and just dance my little ass off, and then I get back to work. Or whenever I notice that my head begins to feel a bit full, I just step away from the computer and I have a little shaking for a minute or for 10 minutes or an hour, whatever I have time for, whatever I feel moved to, and new inspiration and new energy flows through. And then I get back to work. And this is how we begin to live a life that is fulfilled already. Because when it comes to manifesting our dream life, again, it's not about the future. It's not about getting there. It's not about meeting that person, but it's really about how am I living and where am I coming from? Because it's completely impossible to try and like manifest the state of inner peace from feeling stressed out, or trying to like scrambling around in a feeling of lack to try and manifest money, try and manifest abundance. No, it's already here. And again, with, you know, with something like manifesting a partner, which is kind of silly because it's not like you actually create them from scratch, but they already exist. It's more about becoming a vibrational match and coming into a state where you can actually rendezvous and meet with each other. It's about, are you a vibrational match to that? Are you living that already? And so it's about the feeling, not the form. So releasing attachment and knowing that whatever you desire is already available within you. And yes, of course, for things like cuddling and making love, it is useful to have another body. It's kind of difficult to spoon when you're just one person. It's like you need somebody to spoon together with, right? However, that feeling of connectedness that we are desiring, that is available regardless of the presence or absence of any one given person. So this is really the double whammy of feeling good, because there are two benefits to feeling good now. Number one is that you feel good now, obviously, duh. It's like you feel great now. It's not that you're waiting for something. So it's a fulfillment in every moment. And the second benefit of this is through feeling good now, you are tuning your point of attraction into the vortex. You're tuning your point of attraction where you actually have access to all of your desires. Because as we mentioned yesterday, everything you want is in the vortex, which is another word for just vibrational alignment, in tuneness with life and with joy and aliveness and excitement and abundance. And so it's by being that you attract those things, because you don't attract what you want, but you attract what you are emanating, what you're vibrating at. So just keep on trusting that. It's not so much about trying to go out and take action from a place of misalignment, but first, most important is coming into alignment first, because then life can do the orchestration. And then from that place, you will be so much more efficient and infinitely more powerful in the action that you do take. But alignment is first. Okay, so the next thing I want to speak about is actually point number 4 on my list, but I feel this is appropriate to do now, which is alignment before action. So this is about tuning into the radio station of inspiration. So again, it's all about frequency. It's all about vibrational alignment. So when you don't feel so great, and I'll speak a bit later about how to shift things when you're not feeling so great. But first of all, just knowing that when you're not feeling that great, that is not the time to push anything, because it's only when you're tuned into a state of inspiration and joy and alignment, really, that you have access to inspiration and your genius and your creativity. So do not try and push things or create from outside the vortex. Abraham Hicks often says, get into the vortex and then. Get into the vortex and then. Get into the vortex and then. And again, it's not about trying to get into the vortex. In other words, trying to feel better so that then you can be in a place where you can attract that thing that you want. No, it's about the feeling. It's about that there's no point whatsoever in trying to push things when you're not feeling it. And the most important thing for your quality of life and for your enjoyment is your inner state of feeling. So prioritize that, and just realizing that all those things that seem so important are usually not that important. Just notice that all those things that you have worried about in the past that at the time seemed like so important, however they turned out, whether it was a success or failure or whatever, notice that you're still here now, right? You're still breathing, you're still here now. So maybe it wasn't necessary to worry about all those things. And maybe it's not necessary to worry about all those things now either. So first of all, coming into alignment and tuning into a frequency and a state of inspiration. And that's where inspiration flows naturally. Because if we are trying to be creative, I spoke about this in my previous webinar about the Yogini approved keys to effortless productivity. If you are in a state of being stuck and feeling depressed and feeling small and vulnerable and kind of sad, to try and create something awesomely powerful, of course there's some creativity that can come through sadness as well, but I'm talking about this feeling of being just totally stuck. To try and create something really amazing and creative from that place is like trying to get Photoshop to play music. It's like if you're in Photoshop, like if you're in that state of stuckness and depression, you cannot play music from that place. You have to first relocate into iTunes, and then music just happens. Music is what iTunes does best. So in other words, tuning first into relocating into a state of inspiration, and then inspiration cannot help but flow forth. So that is something that is super important to realize. So just checking in with you, ladies, if this makes sense so far. Cool. Yeah. Wendy says, thank you for this. I know what not to do, but now I can feel the sentence. It is going to be this or something else even more amazing. Yes, I can feel this. It is tingling in my heart. Yeah, so when you feel a tingling in your heart, that's like higher self saying, yeah, this is a golden nugget for you. Like, this is really key in this. Absolutely, says Barbara. Wonderful. Yeah, so this is the trust, because this is really one of those things that I see trips so many people up all the time, and it used to trip me up as well, that there's this attachment to the form, that we get all excited like, oh my god, I can create my life, and not can create my life, because we are creating our life all the time, but now we can actually do it consciously. But then we can get a bit like overly excited and be, not excitement in just the open way, but we can get a bit overly kind of agitated and be like, okay, it has to be this, and oh my god, it looks like I got it, and looks like this might be it, this might be the one, this might be it. And then we get all attached, not knowing that this is a reflection of our inner state of being. And so even as manifestations, quote unquote, especially when we have placed a really clear order, it's whether it's a business intention or for a partner or a new house or anything, when something shows up that seems to match what we asked for, again, to realize that's a reflection of our inner state of being. So to keep on being tuned in vibrationally and not get lost in the circumstances, meaning not get too attached to the way things show up, but just trust that there is an infinite supply, there's an infinite ever-flowing stream of abundance that keeps on reflecting, and there are no upper limits. So even if you do meet someone that seems to fit the picture of what you think you want in a partner, that might be so that you go into a relationship or something like that, and even so, relationships may or may not last for the rest of your life. So there is this continuous upgrade that is always possible. Or it might be that they come into your existence and then leave pretty quickly, because that is making space for something even more aligned and even better. So trusting that. Okay. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, cool. So there are some more questions and comments there, but I'll go back to that later. Okay, so let's check in. So I want to move on to what was point number 5 on my list, which is how to shift into alignment and what to do when you're feeling crap, when you experience negative emotion, and when you are not feeling so great. So once again, if you are not feeling so great, then do not try and push anything. Just tune into what would give you relief, what would feel nourishing for you. So there are 2 kind of different approaches in this, although they definitely go together. One is about meeting what you're feeling, and one is about shifting and dissolving whatever is going on. So let me start with the first thing, which is how you meet things. So again, when we spoke about yesterday, that there's the event and then there's your perspective on it. And the event itself is essentially neutral. It's your perspective about what is happening that is creating your own experience. And the same thing goes for emotions. So you experiencing a negative emotion is like an event, right? And then how you meet that will determine how it flows from there. So there's the possibility A, say, that you're experiencing negative emotion, you feel a bit stuck or you feel a bit depressed. And then there's a possibility for meeting that with judgment and seeing and having the opinion that I shouldn't be feeling like this. Why am I feeling like this? If only I felt happier, I could be more productive. And meeting it with all these like crappy judgments and opinions about it, which is just the only thing that it does is to add to the resistance. The only thing it does is to add to the already kind of crappy feeling. And so the other possible approach, which is what I would suggest that you adopt from here on and for the rest of your life, if you haven't already, is the approach of complete and utter acceptance and complete and utter tenderness. And so these are 2 linked but different layers. I want to start with acceptance. So with acceptance, it is super important to realize that it's not about trying to accept what is happening, but it's about realizing that it's already accepted. So, in other words, whatever shows up, including you feeling depressed or including you feeling insecure or stuck or sad, just by the fact that it's showing up, shows you it's complete, undeniable proof that existence, higher self, and life itself has already accepted this appearance, this occurrence, this negative emotion. It's accepted already, otherwise it wouldn't be there. So it's not about trying to accept your feelings or trying to accept what is happening, but noticing, just by the fact that it is already here, it must already be accepted. So it's about aligning with that, realizing whether you accept it or not, it is already accepted. And also, something showing up, an emotion, and you not accepting that, that is also accepted by existence. But in realizing this, it becomes so much easier to just always automatically accept whatever shows up without even questioning it. Just realizing it is already accepted. Whether it's a negative, quote unquote, negative phone call or email, or a bill showing up, or you missing the train, or a partner leaving, anything, or you experiencing sadness or depression, it's already accepted by existence, and just aligning with that. And then from that place of acceptance, see if you can meet whatever is showing up with complete tenderness, Because with these emotions, usually they just want to be loved. They just want to be received and be loved and accepted completely. And so if you're feeling sadness, for example, can you have the approach of, hey, sweetheart, it's okay. You are welcome to feel this. You are welcome to come with this. I can hold this for you. Because then what happens, not only does the space open up so much more with so much more tenderness, but also you realize that you are bigger than the emotion. There is a big difference between, oh, I feel sad and I feel depressed, to, oh, I noticed there's some sadness and depression here. Welcome, I can hold you. So to meet everything with complete tenderness, just the same way you would a small child that comes and cries, with you, just meet it with complete tenderness and total acceptance. Yes. Okay, wonderful. So yes, meeting everything with complete radical tenderness. That is the first approach. And then from that place of acceptance and tenderness, then you can actually go in and look at what is the underlying belief here that is causing this emotion. Now, there is not always an underlying belief, because sometimes it's just like hormonal stuff. Maybe it's right before your period and you feel a bit sad, or you just feel a bit vulnerable. And then it's just a matter of holding the space for the emotion to be there and not having any opinion about that it has to shift. And also that thoughts and feelings don't really have any power over us until we start really believing them. So in the past, when I would feel sad or vulnerable, it used to feel like a really, really, really big deal. And now, because I'm rested in something that is more stable and more rested than that, then even if, because of the cycle of the month or whatever, if I feel a bit vulnerable or a bit sad, it's more like, oh, there is some really strong sadness here, but I can still keep on doing what I'm doing because I'm not that much affected by my emotions anymore as such. So I can notice vulnerability, I can notice sadness, and welcome all of that, and be rested in the open awareness that is welcoming all of it. So from that place, for the most part, when we're experiencing negative emotion, it usually comes down to a limiting belief that is rooted in a belief in lack. So if something happens in your life and you experience negative emotion, the question here is, what is the lack belief underneath this? In what way am I believing in lack right now? In what way do I believe that lack is occurring or will occur at some point in the future, or has occurred right now? And then in seeing through that, coming back to what you know to be true, which is that love is infinite, that abundance is infinite, that the possibilities are infinite, and that everything is okay and everything is taken care of. And if you have some more specific questions about this, then we can get in some more specifics about how to debunk lack. So seeing through what kind of lack belief there is in this. And then other shifters that can help to shift negative emotions, so to speak, are things like shaking, dancing, breathing, yoga, especially if it's anger. We spoke about this in the Q&A last week, so go to the most recent Q&A recording if you want to have more keys on how to shift things like depression, sadness, apathy, frustration, and suppressed anger, which are things like shaking, pounding pillows, breathing, because very often to turn up the volume on something and get it really physical will allow that to move through the system. So these are a few. You have to play with this intuitively. Sometimes it's enough to just notice, okay, right now I'm believing in lack. In other words, right now I'm experiencing negative emotion because I'm believing in something that is out of alignment with truth, or that is out of alignment with the truth of how existence works. And sometimes it's really good to get physical with it and to shake and to breathe and to just get it out there and to dance with it. So those are a few different shifters. So Barbara says, yes, the tender meeting can always take place. The moment you don't seem to be able, you can step back and see if you're able to meet with tenderness. The fact that you aren't able to meet it with tenderness, there will always be a point you're able to meet in tenderness. Exactly. So Alicia says, debunk doesn't mean unwind, dismantle. Yeah, exactly. So to kind of see through it, to take it apart and to see through it so that it can fall away. Basically to see very clearly in a way that it's actually false, that it's actually not real in this. And so let's go on to doing some debunking of unworthiness and fear. So when it comes to unworthiness, because in the pre-webinar survey, there were quite a few of you that had this feeling of that something that you come up against pretty often is the feeling of that you get super excited about creating something or bringing something into your life, whether it's more money or a partner or something else. And then you have the feeling that you are not worthy of receiving this. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's actually pretty simple, and it's unworthiness is pretty ridiculous, because in the same way with acceptance, that just by the fact that something shows up is proof that it has already been accepted by existence itself. And same thing goes for worthiness. And I just love the way my friend Tiger Singleton speaks about unworthiness. His answer to that is basically just, well, you are breathing, aren't you? You exist, don't you? So in other words, just by the simple fact that you exist means that life obviously wants you to exist. You're obviously wanted by life itself. The one infinite creator wants you to be here, otherwise you wouldn't be. And that's your permission for complete and total worthiness for everything. Because your desires are inspired by infinity's wish to experience itself through infinite points of view. So whatever you desire is a movement of the divine, is a movement of life. And so it's very, very arrogant to think that you're unworthy of something that you desire. To feel unworthy of something that you desire is to go against the flow of life. Realize that a desire is the expression of the expansion of life. It is the way life moves through you. So to feel unworthy in any way is just kind of silly. So yeah, maybe just leave it at that. It's just kind of silly to feel unworthy, because you are the divine infinite expression of the one, and life wants you to have everything that you desire and to enjoy the journey of that experience as well. Okay, cool. Barbara says, yes, that's brilliant, Ronja, what you are saying about Tiger saying about unworthiness. Yeah, it's so simple. You're breathing. You're worthy. That's it. Just take my word for it. Permission for total worthiness for everything that you desire. And when it comes to fear, fear is very, very, very simply the same energy as excitement, but filtered through a belief in lack. So if you have a desire for something, and then fear comes up, that simply means that you feel really, really excited about this, but you're filtering the excitement through a belief in lack of some kind. So the way to dissolve fear is to check in, okay, what am I believing right now about lack in this situation? Through what belief in lack am I filtering this event that is causing this fear to arise? And so, for example, if there is excitement about attracting a beautiful love relationship into your life, then fear comes in because it's filtered through the belief that, oh, but maybe if I meet that one person, I could lose him or her. Maybe if I meet that one person, they might not love me back. So there will be a lack of love, a lack of appreciation, a lack of that person being there, and again, a lack of possibilities. So seeing through that, we can come back to the trust in the abundance. So depending, when we have an excitement about something, depending on whether we trust abundance and know abundance to be the truth of existence, or we believe in lack, that excitement is going to feel either as pure exhilaration or as fear. It's very simple like that. So you can always just check in, what is the lack belief that is causing the fear, and see through that and come back to what is true. Okay, cool. Wendy says, yes, that's so true. I'm touched. I'm so touched. It's beautiful. Okay, so something else that I want to say about fear. Something else that I want to say about fear is this. So I've been speaking with some people, especially some women lately, about this way of living, of following the excitement and following the joy and following the dream and living the dream, not just in the future, but in every moment. And the clearest example that I've come across lately is I've met a number of people who want to quit their job, but they're afraid to do so. They're afraid to quit their job because they're afraid to let go of the security, or the seeming security, that that job provides for them. And so, first of all, what I want to say to this is, you're still breathing, yes. You're still here, yes. You're still alive, yes. You haven't starved to death, no, you haven't. You're still here. So in other words, obviously, life has taken care of you thus far. There is no sign, or there's no indication, or is there, that that would suddenly stop, right? So if the fear comes down to fear of death, that if I leave my job, I will starve to death and die, I think if you have enough money and wealth to be able to watch this webinar, then you probably have enough money and wealth to stay alive and to keep on eating, unless you want to become a breatharian, but that's a different story. So the fear of death is pretty ludicrous when it's related to leaving your job. Something as simple. Yes, death might show up in a different form, but you're not going to die from leaving your job. That is extremely, 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 extremely unlikely. Okay, so if we have death as an option out of the way, then what is the worst thing that can happen? And I spoke with a woman about this recently, and forgive me if I've mentioned this already, but it's such a clear example that I just want to say it again really, really strongly. And if you've heard it before, then maybe it sinks in deeper this time. I spoke about a woman that I met on Hawaii a few weeks ago, and she said that she really wants to leave her job because it really suffocates her, it really kind of strangles her. She hates it every single day, and she would really love to go and just follow her joy and follow her excitement, but she's afraid of leaving her job. And so I said to her, okay, so what are you afraid of exactly? And she said, well, I'm afraid that I will not be okay. And I said, you just told me that you hate your job and that you suffer every day. Isn't that just a very clear image of you already not being okay? So you're already not okay. So you don't have to fear that. The only thing you have to lose is your already not okayness. So that one is just that bubble is very easy to pop instantly. You're already not okay, so you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And she said, well, I could end up homeless, like I could end up living under a bridge. And I said, well, if you want to live under a bridge, you can go and do that. But realistically, that's not going to happen. Because if you lose your job and you lose your apartment, You can go and stay with a friend. You can go and couch surf and stay with very friendly people for free. Or you could go and work on a farm where they give you food and organic fruits and food, and you work for a few hours each day, and you meet really cool people who are on the path of living their dream and following their joy, and that will lead you into the next part of the adventure. And so nothing really bad can even happen, even if you would lose, say, your house and all your money, because there is a way that life can provide for you through friends and friendly strangers and these kind of organization like woofing and working on a farm and whatever it is. So the adventure can still continue. So it's really about living the joy. And a question came in, I think maybe Arielle, you were asking this before. So I think in the pre-webinar survey, let me just bring this up. This is something that is very, very relevant. That is very, very relevant for this right now. So I just want to bring up the question 1 second. Oops. Let's see, and go. So, okay, just gonna find this here. Okay, so Arielle, you had the question, would you be happy to share some ideas of your own experience, how to practically live your purpose, develop yourself, and have the resources, for example, money, to do it? As an example, I see you travel a lot, attend interesting workshops abroad. That inspires me, and I'm just wondering how you do this. I guess my belief is that I cannot afford that. So how can I turn this around? Very, very, very good question. Does that resonate for anyone else as well? This feeling of like, wow, how I see all these people, because it's not just me. You probably see a lot of people around who are traveling the world and attending all these cool events all the time, and you're having this question. Unless you're already doing that, if that is your desire, you might have this question, how do they do it? So Sharon says yes with lots of exclamation marks. I'm presuming you're saying yes to this. Okay, great. We have some yeses there. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, wonderful. So let me address this. So how do we do this? Traveling the world and doing all these cool things all the time. Well, first of all, I want to say I have never had a job. I used to work as a dancer in London some years ago. And after that, I had a job for like a few months as a dance teacher. But I quit that pretty quickly because I didn't feel free enough to travel, because I've always loved traveling. And so my blueprint, or kind of my nature in this life, is that I prioritize freedom over security. Also because I do feel carried by life. I do feel trusting that, again, the worst thing that can happen is not actually that bad. Like if I would lose everything I have, I would be taken care of by friends, by family. It's like, it's all good. So from that place of feeling carried and feeling held, freedom to explore and to travel has always been my #1 priority, to basically live the life that I love. And when I started doing this, I didn't really have any money at all. For the first couple of years of having my own company, so I started my company, I think in 2010. And for the first couple of years, I didn't really make any money. I kept on leading workshops, and I wasn't really so savvy when it came to marketing, and I also didn't really have so much confidence. So not many people would show up, and I would rent a yoga studio or a space, and very often I would end up paying more than the participants would pay, because I wouldn't even make the rent for the space. So like going minus. And so I kind of found creative solutions like staying with friends for free. And in Holland, there's this place called Seats to Meet, where you can book a workspace and you can eat for free and use your laptop and work. And so I was having like their free lunch very often. And I was just kind of finding creative ways to live with very little money. But and doing exchanges and just finding creative solutions. And then I would travel, and if I wanted to go somewhere and I didn't have the money, I would hitchhike, or I would find these organizations where, not organizations, but so like all over Europe, there are trucks driving, like flower delivery and different deliveries. So I would go between Sweden and Holland with like these flower trucks. or down to the south of Spain or France, just like go up to, you know, one of these truck drivers that has a delivery to southern Europe and say, hey, I want to go next week. When are you going next time, and can I go with you? And they would always say yes. And I've done this alone. I've done this with friends. So that's one way I just travel for free. And this is how I kind of started. So I didn't wait for the money to show up. I just started living the kind of life that I enjoyed, which is traveling and going to events. And when it came to events, I would find creative ways to help out, or something that either I would manage to get the money together, or I would find another way to exchange that I could attend it. And this was the beginning. But what is really important to see that I didn't start out having a lot of money. I just started following my excitement. I started following with what felt the most fun. And then gradually I began to make more money so that I could travel and pay more for things, and I could pay more for events. And as I invest more in events and learned more and integrated that within my own being, then I had more to give in my own workshops. And so they started taking off really quickly. And I also started owning my expertise and my worth a lot more, and I was learning more about marketing and things, and so money began flowing much, much more abundantly. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. So trust builds on trust, backed up by experience. But the important thing is that I really started with living the dream now, because I know this, that in the same way that what I mentioned yesterday, if you're standing in front of the mirror, it's a very stupid thing to do, to stand in front of the mirror completely still and wait for the mirror to make the first move. And this is exactly the same thing with life. Life is your mirror. Life is reflecting your inner state of being. Yes, with a time gap in between, usually. And time gap becomes smaller and smaller and smaller the more in tune and the more aligned we are usually. But there is a time gap. But however, life is reflecting your inner state of being, not the other way around. So if you wait for circumstances to change first, then life is going to reflect that. So you are waiting for life to make the first move, and life is waiting for you to make the first move. But you have to make the first move. You have to just begin to journey. And again, it's about following the excitement, following the breadcrumb trail of excitement and of joy and desire. And then that opens up and you start meeting the right people, and somebody says, hey, I've been looking for someone like you, and can you come and do this? And I'll give you some money for that. Or it just starts to kind of snowball and create itself, and then you get more excited and then new things start showing up. But you have to begin to live in this way. And by now I am traveling kind of all over the place. I mean, before it used to be that I would probably travel a little bit less. Now I travel for most of the year, every year. Like this year I've been for 4 months in, I mean, not this year, but 2015, I spent 4 months in Thailand, a month in Nepal, a month in England, a month in Sweden, a few weeks in Holland here and there, and a few weeks on Ibiza, a few weeks in Colorado and Boulder, a month on Hawaii. Now I'm here in Holland for a month, and I'm going to San Francisco for a few days, and then Kauai for a few weeks, then Maui for a couple of weeks. Again, coming back here for 2 weeks, and then going to Bali for a month and a half. And so this is, to me, it's really like my dream lifestyle. It's very much how I enjoy living. I enjoy having a base, but I love to travel because I love exploring the planet. So again, I'm able to do more and more and more expensive things, also because I recognize that every single time that I attend a retreat or I attend a course or I learn something, then I have so much more to give also to you ladies in the Sensual Yogini Academy, to the year training in the Samasati Bootcamp, to the workshops that I have. So it's a feeling of sharing all the time. And again, going to an event or a retreat or something like that, that is only seen as an expense when you don't trust your ability to keep on sharing from that place. So for example, if you go to an event and you pay, say, 400 euros for it, and then during the event, you feel so inspired that you get an idea that you create something from that ends up making you 4,000, then that's like what's that, like 1,000% return of investment for that thing. And this is what keeps on happening for me, that I keep on following the excitement and the inspiration, and that creates more excitement and inspiration, that whatever I spent on whatever that was comes back times 10 or times 100 or times whatever, so that I trust that now. And And also, I want to say this, that people keep on asking me, how can you do this and how can you afford it, as if it seems like you have to be first a millionaire and then you can do all these things. And to that, I want to say it really comes back to trust, because money for me is something that breathes very much in and out and in and out. And I can see that it keeps, the in-breaths keep on becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, that more and more money is flowing in all the time, which is basically just me finding deeper ways to be of service. Because our ability to let money in, or the way money comes into our existence, is very often related to how many people we are helping. So the more we are helping people, the more we're serving people, the more money comes in as a response to that. And so when I find deeper ways to be of service, then of course that is also reflected in just that general flow of money. And in that, I'm also able to give a lot more, both to causes that I support, as well as other things that are important, and organic food and those kind of things. But I want to just give an example from a recent event, which was, I arrived on Hawaii in the beginning of December. And at that point, I had just paid for like a shitload of flight tickets. I had just paid for the Tiger Singleton retreat on Hawaii, as well as an ecstatic dance retreat, the Bentinho retreat, a lot of different things. And I had also paid like a few thousand in taxes, and there were a few thousand euros in taxes. There were all these things. So I arrived on the island of Hawaii with about like maybe $200 or 200 euros in my bank account, and that was it. And I knew like that will probably be gone like within the first week, if not sooner. So I was like, okay, I have no idea, like how can I fund this month? And because I'm not looking at the numbers and seeing that as a fixed thing, but money for me is this fluid thing that breathes in and out and that flows, and that I can open the flow to in different ways. And so I looked like, okay, I have a couple of €100. That's of course not going to be enough for a month on Hawaii. So the question is, how can I fund this month? And then instantly I got some ideas like, oh, I can offer some more of the sensory hygiene here. I can have an extra webinar here. I can put out that I'm now giving coaching sessions more regularly, and I can just let people know about these things. And then within like, I think within maybe 2 days or something, I had made enough money to fund that whole month. And when I came back from Hawaii again, I was down to, I think I was down to like my last, I was down to like my last 50 euros or something like that. Like it was almost down to complete zero in my bank account. And then again, that for me feels really playful. And then I'm like, oh, cool. So what can I do now? What feels exciting? Not from the place of needing the money or wanting, but more feeling like, what do I feel excited about? And it's like, oh, I would love to give lots of massage now. I feel inspired to do that. And then I sent out an email saying, hey, I'm offering massage. And then instantly a lot of bookings came in, and then, you know, a few thousand were made in a week. So it's like, you see, this is kind of how it moves for me. And very playfully, I'm experiencing this, that I have total trust in that I'm taking care of my life, and that things just always work out. And I do keep on working. I do keep on doing things. I do keep on giving and being of service. It's not just that I'm sitting just meditating and expecting a bag of money to land on my head. That can happen too. You know, you could win the lottery or whatever, but it's really about this feeling of abundance and the total trust in the flow of that. Hold on, it feels like there was one more thing I wanted to say about this also. Oh yes, also, when it comes to giving your gift, you also kind of have to make money not be so much a part of the equation, because I'm very, very happy at this point that what I do right now with the online academy, with the Sensory Hygiene, as well as my sessions and my workshops, I have now come to the point where pretty much whatever I put out, if it's a workshop, for example, sells out pretty much every single time. If I put out sessions, I get fully booked. And so this has taken some time to build up. It wasn't like that from the beginning. You know, there were a few years when it was really kind of challenging to get participants and bookings and so on. Right now, it's at the point where it's flowing so freely, and enough people know me that everything I do goes really, really well. And also because I know that everything I do goes really, really well, life reflects that to me. However, if money didn't exist, I would still be doing this. This is really my joy to be sharing in this way, both because I enjoy it as well as because I see that it's so valuable for the people that I serve and that I give to. And so when I started leading women's groups, and when I started giving massage, and when I started giving tantra workshops and dance performances and a number of other things that I don't really do anymore, even when I did that for a few months or even a couple of years without really making any money with it at first, I kept on doing it because I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I love it. I was doing it because I love it. I was determined to find a way to make it work financially also. But if money didn't exist, I would still be doing the same thing as I do now. So it's really about, you know, first just finding like what do I love doing so much that I would want to do it whether money exists or not, whether money flows in or not, and then to start doing that, and then find a way to make that work financially, which comes down to learning things about business and marketing and law of attraction and those kind of things. But it really starts from following the joy and the excitement. So Sharon says, and actually, I don't even want to travel the world, but I don't want to have to worry about anything I want to do, and if I can or cannot afford it. Yes. So this is leading us in. So hopefully, so Sharon, was this useful what I said now? So seats to meet, exactly, seats to meet. And it's the website, I think, is seats and then the number 2 meet.com, I think, and it's all over Holland. And I think it's a brilliant concept. You can get free lunch and free tea and coffee, and you can get free Wi-Fi, free prints and copy things and stuff. And it's all over Holland, so it's a brilliant concept. Check that out. So Sharon's question or comment about that she doesn't want to have to worry about anything that she wants to do, and if she can or cannot afford it. So this leads us into another point, which I had on my list for today, which is the fastest way to increase the amount of money that flows into your life, which is to change your words. So I spoke earlier about that it really comes down to a feeling state, and that it's not so much about monitoring your thoughts all the time, but really, because the thoughts are so many and they come and go so quickly, but being tuned into your state of being, because your state of being, in other words, your alignment, is an indication of what is about to come into your experience. So the way to look into the future is to tune into what is my general state of being on a day-to-day basis. Am I most of the time focusing on lack, or am I most of the time trusting in abundance? Am I most of the time noticing lack in my experience, or am I most of the time noticing abundance and things to be grateful for? Because that is not that you can never have a negative emotion, but your general state of being is your indication of how the future will show up. And you're welcome, Arielle. And so changing our thoughts, because thoughts are very much often on autopilots. We do have some control over them, but it is a pretty kind of uphill way to go. And so to say that you should never have a thought of feeling any kind of lack or something about money is maybe easier said than done, especially in the beginning. However, you can change your words, kind of a little bit like fake it till you make it type thing. So the number one shift I want you to make from this day and forevermore, if you haven't done so already, is to never, ever, ever again say, I cannot afford that. I can't afford it. Because, again, looking from the perspective of the reality of life and infinity, there are infinite possibilities and infinite abundance. So don't be so stupid as to place limits on infinity. Just don't do it, okay? So If there's something that you want to do and you look at the price for the event or the price for the massage or the price for the nice dinner that you want to have, and you look at the money you have and you say, and you come to the conclusion, oh, I can't afford that, then you are putting a full stop on something that is actually meant to be an open flow and a journey, and you're placing a limitation on creation, which is a silly thing to do. Instead, simply, without attachment, but just open up the question and say, how can I afford it? How can I afford that? And when this becomes your default mode, then you will have access to so much more inspiration and creativity and ideas that were not available to you from the place of saying, I can't afford that. As soon as you open up to this, and not again from a place of feeling like, oh, I don't have the money, but how can I afford that? Because again, the universe responds to your vibration, but really from curiosity and playfulness. If there's something that you want to do, say you want to come to Tigers in My retreat next June at Van Boude, or say you want to come to the Sensual Yogini weekend in Amsterdam, that is the weekend after this, or any other event, or whatever it is that excites you, playfully say, how can I afford that, with curiosity, and then be open for whatever comes, and start brainstorming if you feel inclined to do so, and see what comes. And so in my experience, funnily enough, it's such a blessing in disguise, these things, when we seemingly can't afford something, because in my experience, so many of my biggest upgrades in terms of business have come in response to me wanting to go on a trip, or me wanting to travel somewhere, or me wanting to go to an event that feels really important to me, and presently not having the cash to dish out to pay for the thing, but to ask myself, okay, so what could be possible here? What else is possible? How could I afford that? Could I maybe create a new special offering for my massage? Or could I put out a Facebook event where I offer something like a package or a discount or a special, like a limited time thing, which is like giving people an incentive to kind of get off their ass and take action now? Or could I put out maybe an extra workshop? Or could I find a collaboration with somebody that seems interesting and we can create something together? It's just brainstorming. Or could you sell some old clothes? Or could you sell, maybe you have something laying around at home that you could sell on eBay or on Marketplace or something like that. Like, there are so many different ways. So just to begin to feel into that possibility, how can I afford it? How can I afford it? Can I offer something to the organizers of the event in exchange for my attendance? Could I get in for free? Could I get on the guest list? If I invite all my friends on Facebook to this event, would they put me on the guest list for the event? Very possible. I have done this so many times. Like, I regularly promote other people's events. When I feel very excited about it, because it's not that I promote something that I wouldn't enjoy, but when I feel excited, I regularly promote people's events. And I'm pretty much always on the guest list. So there are so many different ways of giving and collaborating in this kind of way. So Kara says, what I wonder is, should I just book things even though I have no money, like take a credit, lend money from friends, or just trust it shows up somehow? Okay. If it excites you, yes. If it excites you, yes. And so again, that may or may not work out, that you're able to pay that friend back on time or whatever. But if you trust that's okay anyway, like for example, when we were in Hawaii and it came to the point, like towards just the end of that trip, when my friend Kelly Love and I wanted to go on a dolphin dive trip, and just because of it, it was, like I said, that was kind of coming down to the end of, it was towards the end of that out breath, let's just say. I was like, I really want to do this, but I don't have it right now. And she's like, oh, no problem. I can pay for it, and then you can pay me back in a couple of weeks or in the next month. And we just agreed upon, okay, I will pay you back within this month, within this time frame, and that's all cool. And then we just went for it. Should I then have like not gone on the dolphin trip? No, fuck no. I'm on Hawaii, I want to go and dive with dolphins. So we did that. And so yeah, you can totally book something and then lend the money for it, especially when it comes to something that will clearly, when you implement it, give you money back in return. So I have several times done these things, not recently because now I can pretty much always pay for things, but in previous years I would buy a course, say an online course, for example, Marie Forleo's B School, or I've invested with some other mentors and teachers where I had to like borrow money from a friend or my parents or something to pay for the course. But then when I learned in the course, gave me ideas and inspiration that then allowed me to make back like 10 times what I spent, and it was very easy to pay back to the people that I had lent money from. So if it excites you, if you have the trust, then by all means go for it. And when it comes to credit, I presently do not have any credit. I don't have any credit card. I used to have it in the past, and I felt that's not my thing. I just want to make sure that I can pay for things upfront already. However, credit is actually kind of a blessing, because if it's something that is really important for you, especially when it comes to, for example, buying a house or something that's really important, that is actually a service that they provide, that you can actually buy that. So to frame it in a way that you feel grateful for a system that is in place that enables you to have experiences that maybe otherwise you wouldn't be able to have, that is actually something to be grateful for. So if you can frame it in a way that excites you, then by all means, yes. And I have done this so many times as well, like that I'm going to attend a few events on Maui in March, and I booked the events a few months ago, and I still have not yet booked the plane tickets, because at that point when I booked the events, like I have money for the events, I don't have it for the plane tickets, but I trust that by the time I need to buy the tickets, I will have. So again, you just have to find a way to flow with this in your own way, and just keep on giving and keep on following your excitement. And if you feel fear, then check what is the lack belief here, and then go forth with it anyway. So hopefully that's helpful and makes sense to you all. Barbara says, yes, I want to come to Tiger and your retreat. How can I afford that? Exactly, how can you afford that? How can you afford that? There are always possibilities. Oh, one more thing I want to say about this thing about not having money to do things. If you really want to do something, then most important is to shift from I can't afford that to how can I afford that? Because again, the universe will respond with whatever you're putting out. So if you say I can't afford that, the universe goes, well, okay, then you can't afford that. Your wish is my command. You can't afford that. And if you say, how can I afford that? Then you have access to the inspiration, and the universe starts rushing in with all new possibilities that suddenly open up from that place of openness. Secondly, if it's something that you're like, oh, I kind of want to do it, but I'm not sure and I don't really have the money, rather than saying I can't afford that, to say I'm choosing not to buy that right now, which is an indication of I do have the funds, I could, but I'm choosing not to buy that right now. I'm choosing not to buy that right now, which is so much more empowering, because that is you in the position of choosing. So either how can I afford it, or I'm choosing not to buy that right now. Subtle shifts that make all the difference. Okay, cool. So we're moving on. Let's see what else we have left on this. So the quickest way to increase the amount of money that flows into your life is to change the way you speak about money. Even notice in these moments when you say like, oh, that's so expensive. That is also an indication of lack. Also, when you say, oh my God, it's so cheap, I'm gonna get it, and you kind of get something just because it's cheap, that is also usually a subtle reflection of a lack mentality. And if you want to increase the amount of money that flows in, then if you look at people who have a lot of money, then you'll notice that they don't worry so much about the small stuff. They don't really worry so much about the small things. They don't really care so much about, like, if they go into a restaurant, they're going to order whatever they want on the menu. They're not going to be like, oh, which one is the cheapest dish? And then get that. But it's more like, oh, I'm here, I'm having a beautiful experience, and this is what I want. And so to just get into a habit of not sweating the small stuff and not worrying so much about the small stuff, then that is going to be reflected in your ability to just open the pathway and the channel up for money to flow in a lot more. And also to see that there is a balance between, you know, being smart with money and being kind of stingy. And so one example of this is like, I will happily pay a bit more at this point for something if it simplifies my life. So example is, if I have a lot of things to do and a lot of things to create in any given day, I would very happily just buy lunch or buy food rather than spending time cooking, because that frees up maybe an extra half an hour for me, during which I can promote something in such a way that maybe I make 1,000 euros, or maybe I make a few hundred euros, and maybe I make even more, maybe I make even a few thousand through a promotional activity or something. And so if I think, oh, I'm going to save a few euros on making home cooked rather than eating out, and it's very often that I also go to restaurants and cafes and work with my computer because I find it a very inspiring environment. And so paying a little bit extra to be in an inspiring environment that allows for creativity to flow, especially if I feel a little bit kind of unfocused or a bit low on energy or something. Of course, then I would probably do some shaking or something that would increase my energy. But if I feel like, oh, I don't really feel like being at home because there's laundry hanging over there, or there's like things to do over there, then I'll go to a place that feels more inspiring, which might be a cafe, a cozy cafe, or a beautiful restaurant. And I end up spending much more money on tea and food and drinks and stuff during that day, but I'm so much more productive and creative that it ends up being financially also a very smart thing to do. So just to get into the flow of that is a very, very smart thing to do as well. Okay, so actually I think the last thing really on my list here is about gratitude and how to magnify the magnetic power of gratitude. So gratitude is something that I feel is not, again, it shouldn't be used as a technique to manifest, but just as a way of living. It's about realizing the miracle of this life. It's about realizing how miraculous it is to be alive, and just the blessing of this. Because we take it for granted so much that we wake up in the morning and start a new day, and even have this feeling like, oh no, it's a new day and I have to do all these things, not realizing that, you know, just the fact that you wake up in the morning is a miracle, is such a blessing. I mean, yes, that is the normal thing that happens until it doesn't anymore, but still, just to wake up and feel gratitude for the breath that we're able to breathe, and feel gratitude for the body and the bed and the room and everything, and the miracle of living another day on this paradise planet that is so amazing and that is spinning in perfection around the sun and the galaxies, and all of just the miracle of life itself. Just being tuned into that, for me, just opens up for so much gratitude that I can barely contain it. So gratitude is not even something that has to be specific for gratitude for a specific thing, but just existence, just life, just the miracle of this universe and this life experience, and that we can dance and play in this way. And so having gratitude as a general spontaneous state of being has to be the foundation. And then from that, there are some things that we can do to magnify this further. And so one thing that you can begin to have in your life is what I call the gratitude stone, or the gratitude crystal, or you can call it your magic crystal, or your unicorn blessing stone, or whatever you name, you enjoy having it. And so, okay, so mine is actually in the bedroom right now, so I don't have it right here. But the way you use this is that you take a symbol of some kind. This can be a crystal, or it can be a stone, or it can be a little item of some kind. It should be the size that you can hold it in your hand. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it kind of feels nice to you, and it feels nice when you hold it in your hand. And what you do with this is that, and this you can start from today, from this evening, and then forevermore, is that when you lay in bed at night, you hold this item, this stone or this crystal, in your hand, and you just scan the day that has been. And you find the one thing, or sometimes it might be 2 or 3 things, that was like the best thing that happened that day. Whatever you feel the most grateful for that day. So actually for me yesterday, it was actually, well, 3 things. It was the live stream that we had and the joy of sharing together with you ladies. It was the yoga class that was very enjoyable for my body, and the massage that I received in the evening. So I just laid in bed and tuned into just reminiscing and just remembering that. And you can also say for yourself, just thank you, thank you, thank you for that experience. So bring that feeling into your heart and into your body, and remember the best thing that happened that day, whatever you feel the most grateful for that day. And you can always find something. Even if you've had a full day of crying, you can feel grateful for that you have the emotional maturity and emotional awareness and space in your heart to allow tears to flow, because tears are beautiful. So there's always something to find gratitude for, and you tune into that. And then you can sleep with it, or you can just put it to the side, and then you go to sleep. And then the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is that you take your gratitude crystal, your gratitude stone, or your unicorn crystal, whatever, in your hand again. And once again, you recall what the best thing was that happened the day before, and tune into that state of gratitude again. And so what this does, and then the following evening, you tune into the best thing that happened that day. And so what this does is that it makes you, it's like there are these 2 connecting points in the beginning and the end of a day that makes you begin the day in gratitude and end the day in gratitude. And this sets the tone. Whatever you do the first thing in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. And so when we wake up, some of us wake up in gratitude and joy automatically. Some of us wake up in a feeling of heaviness or even dread for the day ahead, depending on what our life is looking like and how much we've been on this path of gratitude and creativity. But because you have already tuned in the evening before to what was the best thing that happened the night before, it's very easy to wake in the morning and immediately tune into that already. You don't have to try and find something new to be grateful for, but you can just remember, okay, what was that? Oh yeah, that thing yesterday. And you tune into that. And then from that place, you're very welcome to keep on giving thanks and giving gratitude for for everything that comes in that morning. So when you go into your bathroom and turn on the tap to wash your hands or wash your face, gratitude for that you have running water, gratitude for the warm water in the shower. Thank you for the toilet. Thank you for the cup of tea or the cup of coffee that you have in the morning. Thank you for that you have a home to live in. Thank you for that you can turn on music. And thank you for that you have a body, that you have clothes, that you should just basically to have thank you, thank you, thank you as a mantra. So whatever you touch, whatever you move with, whatever you do, to just have this internal feeling of thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of that. And begin to notice that. And you can have this during the day. So if you are going to, say, a cafe, to really feel the gratitude for the people who are serving you your chai, or the people who are serving you your latte or something, and that they are showing up every day in their gift, and they are serving you. And that every person you meet who are in some kind of professional service, whether it's the ticket guy on the train, or somebody in a grocery store, or in a cafe, or somebody that you work with, you don't know what they are going through. They might just have lost a loved one, or they might be going through a divorce or a breakup, or they might be going through a challenging time, and they are still showing up and giving you, whether it's, checking your ticket on the train, or giving you a green juice in a cafe, just really feel genuine gratitude for them being there. And when you go to the supermarket and you buy food, just feeling grateful for that somehow this has been created through people growing things in different countries and taking care of, you know, organic food, and the people in the cash register, and like there's so much to be grateful for in that. So just come into a space of gratitude, and you can make this as a practice, or it can just be a general feeling of gratitude. Something else that you can do to magnify your manifestation powers is, let's see, is there anything more I want to say about gratitude before I go into this? Because this is something that is slightly different. But yes, basically tune into a state of gratitude for yourself, for existence. And this first thing in the morning and last thing in the evening is a very potent way of doing this. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do, that I want to share about, is about imagineering. So imagineering is, through imagination, engineering your life. So this is also called creative visualization and feelingizations, or there are so many different words for this, but this is basically just really tuning into a vision which is related to your desire. So when you feel a desire for something, when you're in that space of desire and in a space of excitement, then that is a perfect moment to close your eyes or whatever works for you to get into a space of really imagining this as if it has already happened. So there are a few different ways that you can do this to speed up the rate of manifestation. One thing you can do is to put it into the present moment, to just think about it and feel into it and speak about it as if it is already here now. So if it's regarding a partner that you want to bring into your lives, and just imagining already living in this, imagining cuddling, imagining making love, imagining tracing your hand down the body of your lover, imagining what it feels like to walk hand in hand down the street. Just, and again, tune into your state of being, because if you're imagining from a feeling of lack, then it's not helpful. It's best to just let it go. But if you feel excited, then you can use that excitement to get specific, to really imagine what that is like as if it's already here now. Another way of doing this, which is something that can also really speed up the rate of manifestation, is to place it in your past. So to imagine that it has already happened, as if you're remembering it. And you can do this through visualization, or you could do it as in writing. If you're kind of a journaling type person, then you can write about as if you're telling somebody about the event as if it has already happened. And this is something that I often do when I have a business project. So, for example, if I put out a new workshop, a new event, what I don't always do, but what I often do is to envision that weekend or that retreat or that workshop from beyond the completion date, from beyond it already having happened. And so envision the most amazingly successful outcome from beyond the date of that happening. So this is something that I would usually write down. So for example, if I create, say, a new workshop, a new weekend for women, then I would write something along the lines of, we have enjoyed the most beautiful weekend together. There were so many women there, and they were all so grateful for what was shared in the weekend. The women connected really beautifully with each other, and they all came into a deeper space of relaxation and aliveness and sensuality and acceptance and self-love and just gratitude and appreciation for everything that they are. And we had a really beautifully relaxing time, and we really enjoyed the music, and lots of financial abundance flowed in, and the organization flowed really. So just like describing it as if it has already happened. Because then you are very clearly vibrationally aligning the vision and the feeling state with it already having happened, and then life basically just has to obey, because life just has to reflect that. Life itself does not have a will of its own. It's just responsive to your state of being and your state of vibration in this way. So placing something in your present moment or even in the past is something that can really help to speed up the rate of manifestation. Also, this is something that you can do as a morning practice. So when you wake up in the morning and you tune into your gratitude stone or your magic crystal, and you tune into what you feel the most grateful for, what was the best thing that happened the day before, when you're already feeling that feeling of gratitude and excitement, then you can take another couple of minutes with your eyes closed and just affirm to yourself and visualize for yourself just a whole day flowing very smoothly, happy surprises, nice surprise encounters and things happening. Or if you have something specific that you want to do, then envision that already being completed and the satisfaction that you feel from already having completed that. And again, without attachment, it's about the feeling, not the form. But from this place of gratitude and excitement, you can tune in a way that you can get more specific with visualizing and with imagineering and placing it in your present or even in your past. Cool. Grateful, 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 grateful. So I think that's pretty much it that I want to share with you today. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I really encourage you to start doing this gratitude stone thing. It really does make a difference. Also, if I want to pull in some science in this, then science and research shows that people who are grateful are so much happier than other people who are not grateful. And so even in the midst of sadness or even in the midst of challenges, when you have an undertone of gratitude, that makes you so much more able to move through everything. So gratitude is one of the biggest keys. Plus the universe really responds very, very well to gratitude. So find a way to express genuine gratitude. So we have covered a lot in this. And I want to see, so yeah, just to summarize, first get into the vortex, first get into alignment, get into inspiration, and then take action from there. Change your words. So begin to speak about money and about whatever it is that you want to attract into your life from a place of abundance, from a place of it already being here, realizing it's about the feeling, not the form. So prioritizing your core desired feelings, prioritizing your aliveness, your empowerment, your strength, your joy, whatever that is for you. Read The Desire Map by Daniela Port if you haven't already. That's a brilliant book. And realizing it's really about the feeling. It's about the feeling. It's about the feeling. And so much more that we covered yesterday as well. Realizing that fear is simply excitement filtered through a belief in lack. And you are worthy because you exist. So let me see if there are any questions now live that have not been answered. Nothing there now, but we do have some pre-submitted things in the survey. So I'm just going to go to today's webinar. So while I go and check out the survey, feel free to have a little stretch, a little drink of water or tea or something, a little shake of your body. Okay. So let's see, I have some water as well, just a second. Okay, so we have one question here from Joanna. What's the number one thing that you'd love for me to solve for you in this training? So she says, advice on how to stay open, mentally, physically, sexually, etc. I feel like my default mode is constricted, but I know this is just habitual patterns that have formed throughout my life. Could you give advice on how to break the habits, how to reset, how to feel naturally, eternally open, please? So we are, okay, so Sharon, it's not Daniela, Laporte, but Danielle with LLE at the end. Danielle Laporte. Great, the design map. Okay, great. So how to stay eternally open. So the movement of life is that of ebb and flow, and we are going to open and close. That's just the natural movement. However, there's a base level of general openness that we can come into. What I have found to be the most useful and powerful when it comes to staying open is the morning practice. Meaning, start your day with something that opens you. So if you feel constriction, that just means there's a lot of life energy in you that is wanting to move, but is being held in a bit of a fixed space and a bit of a fixed place. So things like dancing in the morning, put on whatever music you love and just dance. And when you start dancing, it's very possible that you still feel constricted in your body for some time. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, sometimes it takes a long time before you actually begin to feel the openness through the dancing, but it will come at some point. So put on your favorite music, put on some music that you love and begin to dance. Another wonderful way to come into openness is the shaking practice, which you can find in the month 2 of the Sensual Yogini, which is my absolute #1 favorite practice for moving through resistance and moving through blockages and opening from constriction into openness and flow. And that's basically it. So dancing and shaking, I would say, are my 2 go-to practices for opening. And then more nourishing things like the Yoni Yoga and the breast massage are really wonderful as well. And tenderness, just meeting yourself with tenderness, because very often it's our own judgments and opinions about ourselves and how we should be in a different way that is causing the constriction. So whatever you're feeling, know that just by the fact that it is here, that shows you that it is already accepted. And so to meet everything with radical tenderness, because that's the only thing that works. Feeling constricted and feeling bad, and then adding the extra layer of constriction and rejection on top of that just doesn't work. It's not efficient. The most efficient thing is tenderness and sweetness and love. And this. So that's what I have to say about opening. So when you do this first thing in the morning, then it sets the tone for the rest of the day. And this will be probably a gradual process, but the more you do this, the more you will increase your base level of openness and aliveness. And the more you get used to being more or less open and alive all the time, or most of the time, the less you will allow yourself to deviate from that. So for example, if you have a job where you are sitting a lot of the time, that you're sitting in front of the computer a lot of the time, maybe you are used to every day feeling more and more drained, more and more tired, less and less alive gradually as the day progresses. And in the evening, you're basically drained, empty, and ready to collapse. If that is what you're used to, then it's very easy to stay in that habit. But when you become used to becoming more alive and open, then that base level and you becoming accustomed to that will cause you to, that when you then go away from aliveness and energy, when you notice that your breath begins to feel more restricted, that you start to feel more heavy, even when that begins to happen, that should be a signal to you to do something that increases aliveness in this. So one example very clearly is sitting in front of the computer, starting to feel very tired. And even as you start to notice, not even letting it go to the point where you feel completely drained and then you do something about it, but notice, oh, I'm beginning to get a little bit low on energy. I'm not actually operating in the most efficient way right now. Let me step away from the computer and put on some music and dance to some really nice sensual music, or to put on some hip hop, or put on some African music, or whatever works for you, and dance or shake. And just shake out your head and have some deep breaths, do some stretching. And then from a place of aliveness and inspiration and openness, come back to work. And you have so much more inspiration, you have so much more energy, it is worth the time, because this is how you're really operating on the optimum level. So prioritizing your core desired feelings, which to me, it sounds like being open is one of your core desired feelings. You have the longing to feel just open. So prioritize your openness. And the quickest way to change your state when it comes to openness is to change your physical state, to get physical with it. So to dance and to shake and meet whatever you're experiencing with tenderness. So hopefully that answers your question. So let's see. Jonas says, thank you, and I think you have been spying on me. Is this applicable to you, this computer thing where you just get drained? I used to do this, and I used to feel so incongruent, because at this time I was already teaching about sensuality and aliveness, and I would be super alive and super sensual in the workshops and leading up to the workshops. But then in between, when I would be doing like Facebook events and blogging and computer stuff in between, I'd be so low on energy. Because it's not that I have a lot of energy, it's just that I live in such a way that allows for energy to move through, which is a practice and which is a habit. And yes, as there are less contractions in the mind, less mind fucks, and less contractions in the emotions, there's a general openness that is here all the time. But also just physically, this body needs taken care of. So now I have come into a place where I prioritize my aliveness so strongly. I will not allow myself to just keep on going and keep on going, even though I feel completely foggy and drained. But even before that happens, to come into aliveness again. So bring that with you, all of you. Let's see. Kara says, off topic. You do not have to answer. How do you wear summer clothes in the midwinter? Is this part of yoga tantric practice? I'd love to know. Well, it's pretty warm in my apartment. So I'm from Sweden, and in Sweden we have cold winters and warm houses. We also, like, Swedish houses are so well insulated for the heat. But generally, like, if you, with some exceptions, if you go to a Swedish person's home, you'll notice that it's pretty warm. And so that regardless of the time of year, you'll be able to kind of wear just kind of something like this. I've noticed that Dutch people and British people also keep their houses pretty cold in general, and that just doesn't feel nice for my body. I personally thrive the most in warm countries and in summertime, and sometimes I can really enjoy getting cozy in a jumper or something, but for the most part I don't really enjoy, like, I feel a bit restricted with like too many layers of clothing. I feel just better when I can just be like this, and so I have the heating on a little bit, maybe a few degrees warmer than you do. That's the answer. Alicia says, I practice also laughing in the morning, became natural after a while. Yeah, this is a beautiful practice. I was actually speaking with Layla Martin about this. So in September, I was spending some time with Layla Martin. You probably know her. Otherwise, go check out her website, laylamartin.com. I was spending some time with her in the south of France in the fall last year. And she and her boyfriend had the practice that they would start every morning laughing for like 3 or 5 minutes in the beginning of the day. And it really doesn't matter if it's faked or if it's real, because apparently even if you fake like the most horribly fake laugh you can imagine that feels so unreal, apparently that creates the hormones and the endorphins and those things in the body that shift your brain chemistry, so you actually start to feel more happy. Even just lifting the corners of your mouth apparently changes your brain chemistry, so kind of fake it till you make it. And when you do this for longer periods of time, if it doesn't feel genuine from the start, very likely it will start to feel genuine pretty quickly. So you could also start your day laughing. You might feel really, really stupid, and then just give it to the laughing. Just laugh about feeling stupid, but just do it, and then you'll just notice what happens with that. So that's another cool thing. Yeah, Kara says, nice, luxurious living. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I also have, well, you can't see it right now, but like over there by the kitchen table, I have two like really big bouquets of lilies and some roses and some other flowers, and I have a lot of plants in my home. If I wasn't traveling so much, I'd probably have 3 times the amount of plants, because I love to have like a little jungle inside. So those kind of things are also things that you can do. Like, it's actually worth spending that little bit of extra money to have things that just rejuvenate you and give you that feeling of aliveness and abundance, and prioritizing that and doing it in a way as much organic and fair trade as you can, of course. Let's see. Barbara says, how do you do this shaking stuff? Barbara, are you in month 2 yet of the Sensual Yogini? Because it will be available for you very soon otherwise. How you do the shaking stuff? Well, I can explain it. You stand with your feet hip width apart, with your feet parallel, and bending a little bit in the knees, and then you begin to let a little bounce happen in your body. It looks kind of silly when I'm sitting doing this, but if you imagine me kind of standing up, and you begin to shake. So it starts from the knees, and you relax your bum, you relax your spine. So you shake your bum, your spine, your shoulders. You can shake your hands, you can shake your head. And the way you breathe with this, let me just put my water down. The way you breathe with this is that you take deep breaths in, and then the out breath just comes out together with the shaking. Open mouth breathing, releasing. And so you just shake like this. And you can do this in silence. You can do this in nature. You can do this with closed eyes, even blindfolded, or you can, if you have a beautiful view out through your window, or you have a plant or a flower or a candle or something, you can have your focus on that, but you can also do it with closed eyes. You can also do it with music. And in the Sensual Yogini month 2, there's a lot of shaking music. I'm going to put up some more actually soon as well, but there's a lot of shaking music. But you can also just, whatever works for you. If you have access to the Osho Kundalini meditation, that is specific for shaking. But any kind of, I often enjoy shaking to either like African drums, or like really like really fast African drums, or trance music, or house, or even chill step. I find this really, really nice. So chill step, house, and trance, and you can find that on YouTube. Just find something that has like a nice beat where you can shake, 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 shake to it. I have made some really nice mixes, which you get in the month 2, if you're not there already. But in the meantime, you can just go to YouTube and find some music. I often like it to be quite like heavy and hardcore and pumping. And shaking should not be slow like this, but really like kind of a fast vibration. And you can do this for a minute or a couple of minutes. I recommend doing it for like at least 7 to 15 minutes. I spoke with one of the women in the year training in the Buddha camp. She says that for her, she shakes first thing in the morning, usually for half an hour. And for her, she says that the first 15 minutes really feel like a warm-up, and then it really takes over, because the shaking is something that first you kind of do, and then it starts taking over, and then it starts doing you, and then you can just keep on going for a very long time. I have sometimes even done these days where I go to a retreat and we shake for like 6 hours every day, and it's fucking amazing. It's so cool to see. It opens up for so much life energy and inspiration, and deeper orgasms, and amazing lovemaking, and lots of cool side effects. It really clears the mind. It also really is very healing for the body. There are some people who even use shaking for healing cancer. And I mean, I believe that the body can heal from pretty much everything through just trust and learning whatever lesson is inherent within that healing crisis or whatever. But the vibration is very healing for the cells. So when you shake for some minutes, and preferably longer, then you notice that there's a vibration that happens in your body just through shaking that opens up so much. So that that opens the space hugely. Shaking is like my #1 favorite practice next to dancing. Oh yes, thank you, Alicia, for that reminder. So yes, I'm going to put up one more track. from the Osha Kundalini meditation, the new version by Varesh. So thank you for that reminder. I'm going to put that one up. And a lot of them you can find on YouTube as well. Cool. You're doing it already. That's nice. Nice. Feel good. So this is something that I often do as well. Like if I am watching a video, whether it's a specific training video or just in something inspiring on YouTube or somewhere else, rather than sitting down and watching it, I often put the computer in such a way that I can see it from standing, and then I shake as I watch. And that way you don't have to feel like you're using an extra time for it even, or you can put on an inspiring podcast or a talk and just have it in the background. And sometimes I even have like an inspiring talk layered with some music, the music turned down a little bit so I can still hear what's being said. And I listen to like a seminar or a podcast or an audiobook or something while I have the music in the background, and I shake while listening, which is a really cool way to kind of capitalize on, you get aliveness, you get inspiration, and you get lots of good stuff at the same time. So let's see. Sharon, I'll see you this weekend. Bye. Let me see if there's anything else that we didn't cover yesterday. Okay. So one question from yesterday was about where to start, a simple plan which leads effortlessly towards my own motivation and manifestation. Where to start? Follow your joy, follow your excitement. Just tune into that. Just ask, what do I desire? And desires usually happen spontaneously. And also getting clear on, how do you want to feel? What is the core desired feeling? Connection, aliveness, sensuality, juiciness, inner peace, equanimity, a feeling of being invincible, joy. There are so many different ones. Abundance, trust, surrender, softness, openness, expansion, certainty, clarity. Again, read the desire map if you haven't already, and get clear on the core desired feelings, and then from there follow your excitement and follow your joy. Let's see. Okay, so Wendy, you had a question about, Wendy says like this: I know and I know when I feel what it is that I'm bringing to this world. I've made a website and content for events and practices. Now I have to go tell it to the world. But on this point, I become scared and freeze because there's something in me that says, if it is really your thing, from your soul, it has to go easier. So I get stuck on this point. How can I go further without becoming a hard worker, without connecting to my goals? Okay, awesome. This is a great question. So you want to go out into the world and tell the world about it, but you become scared and freeze because there's something in you that says, if it is really your thing, from your soul, it has to go easier. So, so there are a few things in this. Number one is to check, like, when you want to go out and promote something, if there's just pure excitement, then that will happen very easily. However, if a lack belief comes up, or a perspective that says, oh, but what if it doesn't work? What if people don't like it? What if people judge me? All these things, then that will feel like freezing and like fear, because you're filtering the excitement through a belief in lack. And also knowing this about the emotional guidance system that we spoke about yesterday, that there's only really one spectrum of emotion, between joy and alignment, and between contraction and fear and lack and out of alignment. And so this is our moment-by-moment indication with whether what we are feeling and believing about what is happening is in alignment with truth or out of alignment with truth, whether it's in alignment and on board with our higher self or out of alignment with our higher self. So whenever you experience contracted emotion about something, that means that you're believing in something that isn't true. So if you think about yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, that feels bad because it's not true. Because it's an indication from your higher self saying, hey, What you're believing about yourself is not true. When you feel about yourself, oh, I'm amazing, I'm a miracle, I'm a divine being, I'm a creator, I'm powerful, and that feels good, that's because it's true. So if you are having this feeling of wanting to go out into the world and tell the world about your services and about your website and about what you offer, and then you freeze because maybe you think, oh, it's not going to be received well by people, they're going to judge me, that is a truth detector test saying, hey, that is not true. It is not true. It's just not true. The perspective you're having is out of alignment. It is off. So what is true is that I am called here to do something, and I don't have to get it perfect the first time. The more I do it, the easier it gets. And I just have to start somewhere, and we don't actually have to be perfect. And something that is really important to realize as well is about success, if we look at business and those kind of things, is that 80%, if not more, of success is simply showing up. Simply showing up. Because if we look at the reality, unfortunately, kind of how things are, is that most people have lots of ideas and lots of feelings like they want to do something, but they never actually do it because they're too stuck in fear. And so already just by doing something, already just by stepping out there, you're already ahead of like 95% of people, or maybe 80% of people, something like that. So the number one key to success is to simply show up and to simply start. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And also, I think we would worry a lot less about what people think about us when we realize that they're mostly busy worrying about what people will think about them. Like, people generally don't really have bandwidth over in their mind and in their feelings to go on judging other people. And if they do, then that is only reflective of their own judgments towards themselves. So you have to just kind of not care about what people do, because the bigger you get, fact is, the more people are going to love you and the more people are probably going to judge you, because you're mirroring to them something that they are not yet living, and thus they will probably judge you for it. But you just gotta not care about that shit, you know? It's not important. And this thing about that, if it's really your thing from your soul, it should be easier, I'd say not necessarily. I'd say pretty much every single person that I know, including myself, that is now living in a way that their gift is flowing forth very effortlessly, that was not always the case for almost everyone. We have gone through a lot of layers, because this is the thing in the gift, is that it's not just that it is what comes easy to us, because sharing in this way has always come easy for me, but there has been in the past a lot more limiting beliefs in the way of that what comes naturally for us and what we feel called to do will also take us on a journey that clears us out. And so my experience of entrepreneurship and having my own company and my own business and sharing in this way has really been a journey from going from being very stuck in limiting beliefs and in fear to moving through them and debunking them and seeing through the beliefs and the fear and coming into a place where the gift can be shared very freely and abundantly. And if I had thought, oh no, it should be happening easier from the start, and I would have left it, I would never have come to this place. It's about the journey there. It's not about that it has to flow completely easily right away, but realizing that your desire to share in this way is exactly what is guiding you into a place where you expand through the limiting beliefs into that greatness that you know is who you truly are already. And so you already feel connected to your soul and to your purpose and to your gift. There are just a few little things to understand and to see through on the way. One of them being that whenever you experience contraction or negative emotion or fear, it's because you're believing in something that isn't true. And sometimes just realizing like, hey, I'm feeling pretty crappy about this. That means that I must be believing in something that isn't true right now. Sometimes that is enough and it just falls away. Sometimes it's good to see like, okay, so what am I actually buying into here? Like, what illusion am I buying into? Oh, people are going to judge me. Yeah, they might judge me. Does that really matter? Not really. Because you don't actually care about what people think about you. You only care about what you think about what people think about you, if that makes sense. that it's not about, people can judge you all day long, and they might do, and you don't even know about it, but if you don't care, it can't touch you. It's only if you think that it has any power over you that it actually does. So it doesn't matter what people do. If you go to any successful person's like YouTube channel, pretty much everyone will have like a flood of really nice comments, hopefully, if they're doing good stuff. Will have a lot of really nice comments, and then there will always be some haters in there just saying the most nasty stuff, like just vomiting their shit onto the YouTube comment section. I'm sure you've seen this, and if you haven't, you can just go and check it out. Any person you find inspiring and that you love, then just go to the YouTube channel and check it out. And I actually have very, very, very few negative comments, but they have shown up a few times. And all that is being said by those comments is they are basically telling you about their view of themselves and the world. That's basically what it comes down to. They are saying, hey, I'm a really judgmental person. Hey, I want to sit around complaining on YouTube all day long rather than actually creating something myself. So they are only reflecting to you their own smallness. It's nothing to do with you. So yeah, so just don't doubt it. If it excites you, if it pulls you, that is the right thing to go, and it will get easier. And then just get clear and debunk the lack beliefs and see through the fear and notice that it's not actually true. It doesn't actually hold any truth value when looked at. And then keep on resting into the place that is noticing the fear, keep on resting into the place that is noticing everything happening, and more find a groundedness in that. Notice that essentially none of that can touch you. So hopefully that's helpful for you, love. Joanna says, will you have the heating turned up for the Bliss weekend? I will have it turned up to whatever is comfortable. So if we're doing a lot of dancing and moving, then I'll probably open a window and, let in some fresh air. But when we do massage and the orgasmic breath work, then yes, we'll have it warm enough for sure. I also give massage here a lot. And so I've kind of become used to having the space really warm because I heat it up a lot for sessions. Yeah, that's the story behind the heat there. Awesome. Barbara is already in love with the shaking. Good. Love it first shake. I'm very happy about that. Let's see if there's something else I want to cover. Otherwise, I think it's time to wrap up. We've gone just over 2 hours now. I just want to share this. Wendy, you are so connected, girl. So this is what Wendy says, who she was just asking with the question about, the feeling of like, if this was really my soul's work, it should be easier, which is kind of bullshit, because it's very often is not easier, but you do it anyway because you're called to do it. She says, I'm really inspired and excited to create my own business of teaching people to follow their hearts, make a deeper connection with themselves, with life, be a leader for all the people who are stuck in life or wanting more out of life, teach and inspire people from my own experience in life, holding sacred space so groups of people can connect on a deeper level with themselves, bringing this joy to companies and teams that are curious and excited about this. Amen. Oh, that's so great. So yeah, so you kind of answer your own question. So if you feel inspired and excited to share about how to follow your hearts and let's see, yeah, how to get unstuck and follow your heart, then the journey of you getting unstuck and following your heart is the only way that you can actually teach in this way. And I have often felt because I have been teaching a lot, I'm teaching a lot about relationships and about intimacy. And so perfectly, I have experienced a lot of challenges in both intimacy, relationships, and sexuality. And because if I didn't have any of those experiences, I wouldn't be able to share and teach with the depth that I'm able to. Because if it was just the case of that everything had always been super easy for me, and somebody came to me with a problem or a challenge or an issue or a question, then I would have very little to share in response to that. I just say, well, just go and be happy. And like, what's the big deal? which is kind of true. Just go and be happy is very good advice, but it's pretty useless very often. So through you having the experience, Wendy, of moving through these challenges and dissolving the fear and seeing through the illusion of lack, etc., then you'll be so much more able to guide people in their own journey, because you're going to meet people who want to do a lot of different things that excite them, and they feel stuck in different ways. So it's so perfect that you feel somewhat filled with fear and freezing, because then you can have the journey and then you can share from your experience. So good on you, girl. Keep on going. Cool. And she's also doing a meditation book for children. That's amazing. That's so cool. That's so cool. So cool. Great. Great. So Caro says also, I'd love to manifest abundance without working hard. The best way to manifest abundance without working hard is to be in a state of abundance. And abundance also means fun. Abundance means fun. So if it ain't fun, I'm not interested in it. Like if it's not fun, then I'm leaving that part of the business. So yes, there are ways to shift our perspectives to come into a more open and free-flowing state and feeling about something. But in general, the way you manifest abundance without working hard is really asking you the question, you know, how can I make this fun? How can I bring the party into this experience? How can I create something that is nourishing for me? And those are simple things like starting your day dancing or having little dance breaks during the day, so that, yeah, when you're creating whatever you're creating, that you keep on bringing the lightness and the playfulness and the fun. How can you maybe bring together a group of women that are also on a similar path and kind of cheer each other on? Because that's another thing that I have found in business. It is so valuable to have others that's, you know, you support each other and you're each other's cheerleaders and you're each other's like power posse and each other's just rebellious unicorn power squad, and you cheer each other on in this way. That is super, super valuable. So there are so many different ways that you can make it easy on yourself. And also, if there are things that you don't find so much fun, see if you can outsource that. See if you can get someone else to do that, either by paying someone to do that, or maybe they can join. Say if you put out the course, maybe they can join for free in exchange for taking care of your administration. There are so many different creative ways to get help in different ways. Let's see if there's anything else. Let's see. Okay, I just want to go back to the chat and see if there are any questions here. Caro says, when is the next Q&A? I don't know at this point. Might be next week. We'll see. It's either going to be next week or the week after that. So either in like one week or in 2 weeks. Then we can have the next Q&A. Cool. Esther has the same goal. That's great. That's wonderful. Yeah, this is so beautiful how the ripple effects spread and how we can keep on sharing. So the way it works is that, you know, I share this with you and then you feel more inspired. So you have more inspiration to share and then people start feeling more inspired. So it's like, it's a win-win-win on all levels. So I'm very happy that you're here and tuning in with us. Okay. So there was one more question that was pre-submitted from Sophie. So she says, hi Ronja, manifesting is something I often do and it works quite well, but I wonder, when it doesn't work, what does that mean? That what I desire isn't in alignment? Or is there some deep hidden fear that I don't deserve it? Or that I'm not ready yet and need more time / try more? Curious what you have to say. It could be all of those things. So number one, I would say that rather than saying that what you desire isn't in alignment, I would say if you feel a desire for something, then that is as clear as it gets for the time being, then if it doesn't show up, it means that you are not in alignment with your desire. And so not being in alignment with your desire usually comes down to something like not feeling worthy of it, not believing that you can actually have it, or blocking yourself through putting a filter of like causing the fear to show up. And so, for example, if we are desiring to attract a beautiful partner in our life, but there's fundamentally the belief that we are not worthy of that kind of love, then we first usually need to see through the unworthiness thing. And again, hopefully after today, you just have thrown that one to the side, because you exist. Life wants you to be here. You won over all the other millions of sperms. You made it into this life. You're still here. You're still breathing. You are an expression of infinity, and you are meant to be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be. And every desire that you have, you are inherently worthy of it, because desire is the expansion of life through you. So you are worthy of everything that you desire. So hopefully that gets rid of the unworthiness part. And again, there can be the fear that I don't deserve it and stuff. And then, yeah, that's the same thing. You're breathing, you deserve it, end of story. And if there are some fears coming up around it, because if we have, for example, the desire to reach a bigger audience with our work, for example, but then there's a fear of like, oh, then people are going to judge me, and there are all these different things, then that will hold that back, because we're not going to allow ourselves to grow into something that feels completely unsafe. So the safety buffer is keeping us kind of in the small space that feels safe and familiar. And so in that case, it's really, really good. And this is also perfect, because this is just a journey towards greater clarity, to see through what am I believing that is out of alignment here. So again, if it's a fear of judgment and stuff, then that can very easily be seen through and realized and dissolved. So it's about alignment, and also knowing, and this is one of my absolute favorite quotes that I can't believe I haven't said it already, which is something to realize very, very strongly and clearly, is that manifestation doesn't take time, it takes alignment. Things can show up so quickly when it's aligned. And if it hasn't shown up yet, that just means that there's still some clarification and some alignment that just needs to happen first. Not something to judge, just trust the process and that you're exactly where you need to be, because that's where you are. So that's the proof, right? Manifestation doesn't take time, it simply takes alignment, which is true for just everything. It's all about alignment. Cool. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so Dagmar is asking, how do I find enough time to be in touch with my own body, learn how to let the energy flow, and at the same time share and create my dream, women's groups, dance workshops? Well, you prioritize it. That's how you find enough time for it. You're going to spend your time on stuff anyway. So why not, like, you're going to waste your time anyway, why not waste it on something that feels really worthwhile? It really comes down to priority and value. When you really, really feel deeply the value of something, and this comes back to realizing that whatever you want, it's the core of it is a feeling. It's not about the thing, it's not about the person or whatever, it's about a feeling. So prioritizing the feeling. So very simple thing, if you think that you don't have enough time, all of you can find 3 minutes first thing in the morning to dance or to shake or to lay in bed and tune into the most beautiful thing that happened the day before and feel grateful for it. All these little things are so possible. If you have time to watch an inspirational video on YouTube, then you can simultaneously stand up and shake or dance as you're watching it. It doesn't have to take extra time. Giving thanks for the tea that you're drinking, or giving thanks for your bed, or giving thanks for the hot water coming out of the shower, or giving thanks for the sunlight when it does show up in Holland. It doesn't take extra time. Giving thanks, flowing, breathing deeply doesn't take extra time. Walking in a way that you can actually feel your hips and feel your body doesn't take extra time. It's a moment by moment thing. As you are eating, to actually enjoy the food deeply, that might take a little bit extra time, because when you really enjoy the food deeply, you're probably going to eat a little bit slower, but it's marginal. Basically, all of these things don't take extra time. It's about moment by moment awareness and priority mostly. And what I often do is that if I'm working in a cafe, like not working in the cafe, but if I'm sitting with my laptop, with my Mac, and writing something or whatever in a cafe, that like every time I go to the toilet, because that's when I have a moment of privacy, I have like a 1 minute or 30-second shake. And that's like my little top-ups during the day, that I prioritize my aliveness. And those extra 30 seconds are not going to make a difference. This works if you work in an office. Every time you go to the bathroom, every time you go to the restroom, have a little stretch and a little shake and a little just rotating your hips and breathing into your heart, touching your face, touching your breast, touching your yoni. You know, you can fit that into 1 minute and it's going to make all of the difference. So it doesn't actually have to take any extra time. It's just awareness and priority. That's what I have for you, Dagmar. So, and she also says that what she's the most excited and inspired to create in your life is sensuality, deeper contact with her own body and her partner, transforming her business into a meeting place for women. Exactly. So it's, you have to live it to sell it, right? So it really starts with your inner state of being. Here. Beautiful. And there are a few more women who really are excited about creating more sensuality, self-love, flow, traveling, abundance, those things. Great. It all ties in together like this. So, ladies, unless there are some questions, you can also come in live if you want to say something. For those of you who are still here, then you can go to room and click on request to speak. But otherwise, I think we shall wrap it up here. So I will announce the next Q&A in the Sensual Yogini Facebook group, as well as send it out via email. The weeks ahead for me are pretty full of cool things happening. There is a new 9-part video training series coming out soon, which is called the 9 Secrets to Amazing Sex and Unlimited Orgasmic Potential, which is a training series that I filmed mostly on Hawaii. And I'm just right now editing and uploading that. And so you'll get that one as well. It's a free video training series that will very nicely tie into the Sensual Yogini practices as well. It's also an invitation to the Sensual Yogini, but seeing as that you're already in it, then you can just enjoy the videos and what they are speaking to. So yes, I will announce the next Q&A. And feel free to share if there were any specific ahas or keys that specifically pertains to you and your journey, something that really stands out, an insight that you want to highlight. Then if you have taken some notes or just something that you feel was useful for you, feel super welcome to share it in the Facebook group or in the Sensual Yogini membership area. And if you have any technical difficulties or anything like that, then email info@sensualyogini.com and my sexy assistant Leonie will take care of you. I think that's it. Joanna says, thank you so much. I am feeling so inspired and ready. Much gratitude to you. Thank you, Joanna. So this is so beautiful. You got it already. So already showing more gratitude and giving thanks is so wonderful. Because then just life wants to give more and more and more and more to you. That's just you showing this openness, you're tuning into this open, receptive space, and life has to reflect that to you. Kari says, thank you for the beautiful insights. Esther says, thank you, nice to connect this way. Yeah, it's cool, huh? It's really nice for me to see things in the chat as well, because then it's not just me talking to a little camera over here. So Cool. I'm going to take a screenshot of this as well that we have for this one. There we go. I think that's it. Ayala says, thanks for feeling inspired. Yes, and meet everything with tenderness, please. It's just not efficient. If you want to have any reasons, like the judgment on top of the sad feeling or the crappy feeling is not working. Maybe you've tried judging yourself into happiness. It's not working. Tenderness. Realize it's not about accepting something, it's realizing that whatever shows up is already accepted by the infinite intelligence of all that is. So unless you know better than the infinite intelligence of all that is, you might as well accept it as well. Meet everything with tenderness. When you feel expansive and joyous, that is an indication that you're in alignment with your higher self and in alignment with your guidance. When you're feeling negative emotion, that means that you're out of alignment, that your perspective is a bit clouded, that you're perceiving in lack, or believing in something that isn't true in some way, and coming back to the truth of that and realizing it's about the feeling, not the form, and that whatever your desire essentially is already within you. So thank you so much. Lots of love. Bye.